Hey, what up, everybody? So, right now we've got Fed Chairman Powell about to start speaking. Uh, to see that, we can go here to the Federal Reserve, and we just click here,
From
Federal
Georgetown
Reserve Live.
University in 1979. While at Georgetown, he was editor-in-chief of the Georgetown Law Journal. Chair Powell, thank you for joining us here today.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Robin. Thanks to all of those here in Fed Education who helped us put together this event. And thank you to the teachers, both here and online, who put aside some of your planning time to listen and also participate. So if we were doing the grading, we would give high credit to those who participated. Here at the Fed, as you can imagine, we care about economic education all year round, and so we're glad to join in the celebration. It's fortunately a very different time for teachers than the one we faced when we met virtually in August 2021, the last time we held this discussion with educators. In the crisis of the pandemic, teachers were on front lines. I know how overwhelming this challenge was for many of you and the extent of your sacrifice, for which my colleagues and I all thank you. And that crisis in many ways continues, as research confirms the educational deficits that students still suffer from. In addition to the challenges they face, there are likely to be consequences for the economy and for our society in a generation of young people who may lack some of what they need to be well-informed, engaged participants in our economy and in our democracy. Addressing this legacy of the pandemic is a major public policy challenge. So now, more than ever, teachers are crucial to America's future. A large majority of you are economic educators, a role that is of particular importance. As many of you know, the Fed's ability to influence the economy depends to some extent on influencing the public's view of current and future economic conditions. When my colleagues and I publish our projections of the most likely path for the economy and interest rates, as we did a couple of weeks ago, one of our goals is to influence spending and investment decisions today and in the months ahead. That will only be the case if people understand, generally, what we're saying and what it means for their own finances. So by educating students about economics, not only are you providing them with valuable skills to manage their finances and improve their chances for future success in any number of occupations, you're also giving them the knowledge that they need to understand the macroeconomy, including the implications of the decisions that we make around the table here at the Fed. Economic educators impart knowledge that's instrumental in how we promote a healthy economy, and in a way, when you teach students, you're also helping us conduct monitoring. It's fortunately, but you do so much more than that. Teachers illuminate the world for us. You help us to see the limitless possibilities in life, and as much as that, in ourselves. At a wonderful but also very vulnerable time in each of our lives, teachers like you are there to help us understand the world, especially when it's hard to understand. I will leave you with one of the many personal examples I can cite from my time in school. I can still very clearly remember a November day in 5th grade at Pleasant Secondary School up near Chevy Chase Circle, Washington, D.C. My teacher, Mrs. Keller, who was much beloved by all of us, and by me, was called away from class. When she returned to the room, every student was upset and horrified to see her tears. And then we got the news. It was November 22nd, 1963, and John Kennedy had shot and killed. So this was something that was very hard for my classmates and me to understand. She pulled herself together and somehow convinced us that everything was going to be okay. So teachers are there for all of us when we need your knowledge, your example, your encouragement, and not least your care. Thank you for playing this indispensable role that you play in our lives and in our children's lives, and I look forward to our discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Powell. Now we're going to take some questions. First, we have a question from Mark Elstein, a teacher from Newark, New Jersey. Mark?
Hi, Chairman Powell. Thank you so much for taking my question today. Why teachers? What is the connection you see between the Fed and teachers?
Thank you for your question, Mark.
Never thought of that.
I guess I would say teachers are really at the very center of the educational process, and education is at the very center of our economy and, in fact, our society. Over the long run, the skills and aptitudes of our workers are a key part, of course, of what drives the economy and economic growth, our educational system equips people with the skills and aptitudes they need to succeed in our ever-evolving economy. So, and also, of course, critically to play a constructive role in our democracy. So really your work is very crucial for both the economy and our society, but also for the work that we do here at the Fed. I would also say, as many of you know, we have a particular focus on economic education here at the Fed. We have lots of ongoing tools. We work quite a bit with teachers and students here at the Fed around economic education. We place a high priority on it. And we host this town hall, of course, every couple of years. It's delightful to have everybody back in person, by the way, for the first time since 2019.
Our next question comes from Jason Cotter, assistant professor at Brigham Young University. Jason?
Hey, Chairman Powell, appreciate you taking this question. I teach money and banking to college students. What do you think is the most important thing for college students to understand about the economy?
For college students, thanks for your question, Jason. I think I would go with something general rather than something specific for your money and banking, and that really is this. For many students and young people, the barriers to taking on economics, it seems very abstract and very different from the things they've studied before, and people just kind of say that's too technical and that kind of thing, and not do it. The thing I would want students to know is economics is incredibly interesting once you get past that very first phase of learning the basics about the economy. So I do think people get turned away and because it seems so dry and technical. So once you get started, economics is just very interesting very quickly. It's highly relevant to the public policy that's being made all around. And more to the point, it just is, once you get the basics, you really understand why it's so compelling, the science. You know, we work pretty much all day long, hot and cold running economics here every day. And I have to say, it doesn't feel like work. It's just all so interesting. When you think about what's at stake, when you think about economics is really the science of public policy, what works and what doesn't work and why. And so that's what I would want many students to understand, that they should just take the leap and take a basic macro and micro course. I mean, maybe kids who are already taking money in banking are past that point. And for them, you know, I think that's great, by the way. I think that those are tools that will really benefit them in their careers and in their lives.
Thank you, Chair Powell. Next, we have a question from David Cooley, a personal finance teacher at Blue Springs South High School in Blue Springs, Missouri. David?
Thanks for your time, Chairman Powell. So my question is, what is the best way to explain to high school students the Federal Reserve's relationship with the federal government? Is the Fed a government agency?
So a relationship with the rest of the federal government. Interesting question. Thanks for your question. So I'll start by saying that we are an independent agency that is part of the executive branch of the government. That's right. We're also non-political, strictly non-political, nonpartisan agency, and we serve all Americans by supporting a strong labor market and stable prices. To your question, the question of how we fit into the federal government is an interesting one. So we're an independent agency, and so the oversight over another branch of government has oversight over our activities. But in the case of the Fed, that's Congress and not the administration, not the rest of the executive branch. And that's a different kind of thing because we are an independent agency. So that's one thing. Is an independent agency is different from, for example, a department, the Department of the Treasury, which is part of the executive branch, but is part of the administration. We're not part of the administration. A little more about our structure and how we fit in. The president, when there's a vacancy on the Fed, the president nominates a candidate who then must be confirmed by a majority of the Senate. We serve these staggered 14-year terms, one of which expires every 2 years. So our terms are not synced up with the presidential election cycle. No jobs change when the presidential election happens, when the new president. What happens is when vacancies open up.
A lot of people think that the Federal Reserve is the federal government, so that's pretty nice to learn this.
This economic summary, so that's really the most important way in which the executive branch and the president interacts with the Fed. Congress has oversight over to us, so this is the other part of how we fit into the federal government is I testify under statute 4 times a year, twice in the House, and twice in the Senate, in February and in July or June. I think it's February and July, and that's supposed to be a monetary policy oversight hearing. In fact, it's about whatever our elected representatives want to ask, and our job is to answer. My colleagues and I also spend a lot of time up on Capitol Hill interacting with senators and congressmen and women who, many of whom are on our oversight committees, Senate Banking and House Financial Services, but also just members, general members. So, for example, I spent 2 hours this morning with 2 senators and 1 congressman, just talking to them about a particular set of issues. And we do a lot of that because, we have this independence that really is quite rare, should be rare in a democracy. And that is, we can only be removed for bad acts, for cause, which means malfeasance and bad acts and things like that. And our decisions can't be reversed by the executive branch. They could be reversed by acts of Congress, but that's not something that happens. So, in exchange for that independence, the other side of that is that we should really just stick to the assignment that we have, and also that we should, work to make sure that Congress does understand what we're doing and hear their criticism, because we should be accountable to the public. We need to be in a democracy. So that's the other way that we fit into the government.
Our next question comes from Ashley Wagner, a social studies teacher at Oak Ridge High School in Oak Ridge. Ashley?
Hello, Chairman Powell. Thank you so much for this opportunity. My question is, what is a common misconception about the Federal Reserve or your position that you'd like to clear up or share with high school students?
Thanks for your question. The truth is, central banking is kind of not on the main highway of what most people think about in class. So many people have only, and they have no reason really to carefully follow how the Fed is structured or anything like that. So there are a lot of misconceptions, I would say, generally. But if I were going to give one, it is this, that people generally don't, and they really don't need to walk around, they don't really understand what the Fed is, how it's structured. So just briefly, it's really 2 pieces. There's a board of governors here in Washington, which is a government agency. Each of us, myself and my 6 other governors, are all nominated by the president who's in office at that time and serve, confirmed by the Senate. We serve these 14-year terms that, as I mentioned, are staggered. So that's who we are. There are also 12 reserve banks. The United States is divided up into 12 districts, and each of those has a reserve bank in it, and the responsibility to monitor the economy in that district, to interact with nonprofits, businesses, and universities, and things like that, and really understand what's going on in the district, and sit around this table and report. They also vote. What's called the Federal Open Market Committee consists of the 7 governors and the 12 reserve bank presidents, so 19 people. Of course, the 7 governors always vote. The New York Fed president always votes, but the other 11 reserve bank presidents vote on a rotating basis. 4 of them vote on a rotating basis out of the 11. So it gets complicated. It's not surprising that people don't carry that knowledge around their head. So that is. But the main thing again I would want people to know is that we're a non-political, non-partisan agency that serves all Americans. That's what we are. We have a narrow but a critical mandate to support a strong labor market and stable prices, low inflation. We also supervise and regulate banks, and we try to keep the payment system safe and efficient, and keep it up and up to date as well. That's what I would like people. Those are the basics I'd like people to know if they could.
Thank you, Chair Powell. The next question
What's
we
up, boy,
have
2K?
is from a teacher in the room. Bill Bethauser is an AP economics teacher at Bishop O'Connell High School in Arlington, Virginia.
Yeah, you also have to remember,
for being with us.
when Powell gets asked a question, he has to be careful with how he responds it, right? So If he responds in the wrong way, it could impact the markets. So, and there are just some questions. You know how politicians and policymakers are. There's some questions that they cannot really answer directly, so they try to like answer around the bush. But
will stand you in good stead. Frankly, that's all I took as an undergrad was macro. I didn't major in economics, anyway. So that's the first thing. I think if you're interested in majoring for STEM, I think that's a great idea. That's a wonderful idea. I think it does really equip you with. You learn lots of quantitative skills that are going to benefit you in life, and also just having a better understanding of the economy, and also in microeconomics, the way businesses work, the way business decisions are made by people in the economy. All of that is incredibly useful. In terms of making a career in it, absolutely encourage people to do that. It is I think it's an enormously rewarding career. And I think of the career people here at the Fed who are economists who they're working on, basically on public policy. And the question is always, what's the right thing to do? How do we use our tools to best serve the people that we serve? It's a very, very rewarding, incredibly fascinating job and area. So I really I'd encourage people to
imagine being in that position.
If you could make a career out of it, that's great. I think we of course survey our employees, and I think people generally get a lot of satisfaction out of public service, and many economists public service. So thanks.
Our next question comes from Steve Principal and AP Economics teacher at Sinai Academy in New York. Fortunately, Stephen wasn't able to join us this evening, so I'll read his question. Since the financial crisis of 2008, central banking experienced drastic changes. What policies and tools do you think should be taught in the introductory economics class?
What policies and principles should be
So, I guess by the types of questions that were being asked, right? Today's more like an educational or questions regarding the education sector.
It's more interesting than the first two pages of the textbook. Dear. I have to say. So the textbooks that I see today. And I did particularly my early days here. I went through a lot of textbooks. They're really good. I think they're very good. What you want is for intro courses. You want people to take away an understanding of the whole economy works, the macro economy. Also have firm set prices. People make decisions in the economy. And I think that modern textbooks are they seem to be much better, much more user friendly to use. There's for example the graphics and things really good, and also the I don't know. I just found them very clear. It felt like more challenging to kind of get through the textbooks. It was 50 years ago. I guess I was a freshman in college in 1971 or the 50 years. So anyway, you mentioned. Central banking has experienced significant changes. And I'll just address that for a second. So many things about central banking have dual.
Yeah, it would be a nice idea if you can remind everyone of the recession we're in. But he has said that a couple Fed meetings ago. There's been Fed meetings where he's announced, the recession that we're in and where we're headed regarding the U.S. dollar. He's also talked about, I remember a couple Fed meetings ago, he's talked about how they plan on battling inflation. But you also have to remember, right? No, you're good, brother. You also have to remember when the rate was released. How are they able to call me if I have my thing on focus? When the federal rate was released, right? And which is this one right here. Let's go over it real quick. It was released.
So lower long-term rates supported. We also started using forward. So if you
right here. So when they released this rate right here, right, the federal funds rate, this is like the measure. This is how they measure inflation, right, with the federal funds rate. And before, on the previous month, it was at a 5.5, right? So by pausing inflation, right, or a rate hike, that's them battling inflation. If they were to have continued to raise the rates a quarter basis point, because it gets raised a quarter basis point at a time, if they were to have raised it, then it would be a sign of that they're not really trying to battle inflation, or at least not yet, right? But them pausing rates or decreasing rates is a good sign that they're battling inflation, and when that's a good. They're trying, but I do believe that they should remind citizens on a daily basis of the recession that we're in, just so that we can be prepared and so that we can save as well, right? Because there's a lot of citizens who are uneducated, they are unaware with what's going on in the U.S. economy, and there's a lot of people who will be affected and will be caught by surprise. See, like you and I both know that we're in a recession, but there's also a lot of people that don't know we're in a recession, which is concerning.
The two-year treasury is a good indicator of policies. It already 200 basis points, 2%. So in effect, financial conditions.
Yeah, I don't know what's going up with XAU. XAU has just been going down. This could, but I've been saying it since the beginning of the week, guys. Right? This week we were going to see a bearish trap, right? Banks and Fed, maybe not the Feds, but we were going to see a bearish trap where we'll see sell-off to sort of get sellers to start selling, and then this is like this area of liquidity where we get trapped as sellers, right? As you can see, this is this area of liquidity where we get trapped as sellers, and then banks get a nicer entry, and then we could start to see price next week start to retrace to the upside, right? But it makes no sense, like you said, right? But that's why I always tell people when we're trading, we live in tough market conditions now where certain economic events get released and it's not what it seems, right? There's a lot of indecision. Maybe there's bearish news for the US dollar, but yet gold goes down as well. So that's why we must always be careful when trading the news, especially. But we're seeing, let's see, we've been seeing bearish movement on the DXY. Hey, Panta. We've been seeing bearish movement on DXY this whole morning, and we've been respecting those. We've been bearish for the whole day. It's actually the first bearish candle that we see in a week or so. So let's see if we can actually start to retrace this area right over here, right? This trend line, and break out of this trend line. But NASDAQ has been moving pretty reasonable. DXY, how much higher are we going to go is a big question, right, as an investor that we have. But let's see.
Price is the yield on reserves. And as many of you know, it used to be that we kept reserves scarce. So if we added reserves, interest rates would go down because there were more reserves and they weren't as scarce. Whereas if we pull reserves out, interest rates would go up. So that's the way we did it for a long time. We don't do that. Now we have ministers. So, and I would say that's the number one thing that textbooks really have still talk about reserve scarcity like that. These are little things. Again, I think that the principles that are pretty quite well. But it's an interesting question.
The next question comes from Matt Jakes, teacher at Marquette University High School in Wisconsin. Matt?
Hello, Chairman Powell. Welcome, Marquette University High School in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. My question comes from my AP Economics students. Would like to know when you were taking undergraduate macroeconomics, what was your favorite topic to study? Thank you.
That's a hard question. For me, that was literally 2 years. A lot of water under the bridge since fall of 1970. A particular topic from that Let me answer now what I think. I really can't go back that far, but I can tell you today that a particularly interesting area for people to study is labor economics. One of the great things about the labor market is there's a lot of data. I think the best data we get for things. GDP is really hard to track. Really hard to track GDP. We do our economists, not here at the Fed. People who do that do a great job. It's very hard. Labor economics, you get wage, job creation, you get job openings, you get all this data. So it's very important. Of course, it's one of our two mains. So I think it's a fascinating thing to watch the way the labor market evolves, and sometimes in very unexpected ways. So I don't know if that's probably not much in your basic textbook. I'm really struggling with something macro fall of 71. Maybe you can give me a list of five. Pick one. Can we do this multiple choice?
That was funny.
Overall, though, I found micro quite interesting to tell you as well. Micro is, I think for many students, micro makes more sense than that. For my daughter, for example, she really liked math. It was mostly math, and it made sense. It had a firm price thing. Pricing margin things like that was very.
That'd be a great question.
Macro.
Where can we ask these questions? But Chairman Powell,
despite
we have a question.
None of my three children. So I can't help you with a specific.
Thank you. Next, we have a question from Penelope Santos Bates, a teacher and department chair at Queen Anne's County High School in Centerville, Maryland. Penelope, are you with us? Okay. I'll read the question. What do you like to do in your free time? Do you like sports? Who's your favorite team? Sport to cheer for.
You know what I like to do in my free time? Work. I'll get to it better.
I can't believe they ask those types of questions. Like,
there's quiet time at home
in these types of meetings. So many people having important questions.
So for example, read about AI, things like that. And, so that's when I do. So that's very important. In terms of fun, I would mention several things. I have two little grandchildren, two little grandsons. A few hours with my wife, and I love to spend time with them. 2.5, 1. Well, not quite 1 months. Also spending time with friends. In terms of my own amusement, I'm an amateur musician. Emphasis on amateur. So I play the guitar. I play with stuff like that. I also play sports. In terms of play various sports and try to stay fit. In terms of teams, I have to say, like many people, I stopped following the local Washington team, but now that they've changed, the team has changed. I'm back to being a fan of I'm very supportive of new ownership they're trying to do. I'm back to being a Commodore fan.
Our final question comes from a teacher in the room, Alessandra Bakai, AP coordinator and instructional lead teacher for Arlington Public Schools, Arlington, Virginia. Alessandra.
Thank you, Chair Powell. Other than taking micro and macro, what single piece of advice would you give high school students, particularly seniors, and as they embark on their next chapter?
Great question. So I actually have a couple of things. They all sort of, but one thing is just life is a really long game, and you're 22, you're getting out of college, say, and you don't realize it probably ahead. So one thing is just keep learning. The most of what you need to know lies ahead of that. When you go to your 10th, 20th years, you can really tell who is still learning, who is still focused on keeping up with this world. I mean, the world changes so quickly. It's not just technology. It's amazing, different the world is.
Wow, that lady has so many pearls.
In 1977 from college. So you've got to keep learning, keep reading, keep thinking. That's one.
Don't invest in
Another one is
stocks. I think I'd probably invest in currencies like euros,
so much
the Chinese currency,
and believe in yourself. Many
probably the
people
pound.
really
Although the
believe
pound was a bit
themselves.
unstable not too long ago.
They
Probably the euro or the Chinese currency. Definitely Bitcoin.
You need to believe.
But that's just me, right?
The other thing is, I'll shut up eventually on this, but the other thing is this. It's not a problem to change your life or your job or your mind about things. In fact, if you're not doing that, then you're probably not doing the first thing. Just keep learning. And so I'm someone who I went to law school because I didn't know what else to do, and I practiced law for a while and I liked it. But then I thought something else. So I went into banking, then private equity. In the middle of that, served the federal government 3 or 4 times. I went into the federal government service, and now I will spend 16 or 17 years in the federal government. So I think you should think of yourself as flexible and able to do different things and be confident that you can actually take something new on.
No investment.
Do it. And it's some people are going to want to have one job. They're really that's great. But if you're a person who wants to do different things, you can do that. And you shouldn't feel bad about changing your mind or changing your career or things like that. So that's what I'd say. I certainly did.
Thank you, Chair Powell. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate the meaningful dialogue and importance of economic education. Resources to help aid our conversation we've had today are available on our social media channels and our website. And just a reminder, October is Economic Education Month, and the Federal Reserve Education Group has events planned throughout the month to celebrate it. More information is available on our website. Have a great evening. Thank you for joining us.
So that's how the meeting went, guys. So it was just pretty much they were just going over the education sector, asking questions and regarding education and where it stands, and a bunch of teachers got together and just pretty much asked questions, as you guys saw, right? So it didn't affect markets much. There wasn't much movement as we were expecting. Always, it's interesting to see Fed Chairman Powell speak, right? Because he is a man who moves markets. He is someone who is very closely observed by investors, policymakers, politicians, and he's probably one of the most important men in this country, right? Considering his position. So that being said, guys, we will end it here. Thank you guys for everybody who pulled up and those questions, guys. We will be doing more of these. So every time there is an economic event, we will be going live. So if there's any questions or concerns, we can answer them and get together and go over it, right? So it's pretty cool. Nothing too important today. So hope you guys had a successful trading day. And if you're still trading today, hope you guys have a successful trading day. Be safe trading today. That it could be a little indecisive. So yeah, guys. Take care, guys. Happy Thursday. See you guys tomorrow, 8 a.m. Eastern Time for New York Session live stream. Take care, guys.